So for me, working with mental health youth in between the ages of 13 or 12 to 17 and adults anywhere from 18 to 70, I'm teaching mindset training. They come in with depression, anxiety, multiple diagnoses, past trauma, rape and abuse, going through current dynamics with family dynamics,
Yeah.
stress with jobs. And so using those education classes to teach people how to work through their mental health diagnosis has ultimately transferred into working outside of the dynamic just with you, me, anybody, people listening. So I
Sure.
found that you don't have to have a diagnosis per se, but we're all dealing with struggling with life, self-limiting beliefs in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, whether you've been diagnosed or not.
Right.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenshon, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where we believe in helping you live your best audacious life ever. Totally thrilled to have you here once again, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to the program today. Now, just as a well-structured building requires a solid foundation, achieving long-term health goals requires a strong mindset, consistent daily processes, and mindful attention to macronutrition. These elements form the pillars that support your journey to a healthier lifestyle. Today, we have the incredible Deshaun Jackson with us. Deshaun is a lifestyle coach and mental health advocate who passionately guides individuals towards positive transformation through mindset training, macronutrition, and exercise. Deshaun's expertise in mental health, nutrition, and lifestyle coaching makes him the perfect guest for today's episode, where we'll delve into the power of consciousness, daily habits, and measurable rituals in achieving lasting health improvements. During the conversation with Deshaun, he'll highlight some really important things for us to bear in mind. And so I don't want to take anything away from what he's going to offer, because it really is an insightful conversation. So without any further ado, here's our chat with Deshaun. Enjoy. Hey, Deshaun, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you making the time like this, man. Thanks for being here.
Audley, thank you for having me on. Viewers, thank you for tuning in, listening, watching. Appreciate it.
It's great. Now, you are a sort of health and lifestyle coach, and when you sort of think about the journey of a healthy lifestyle, it certainly isn't easy. And it's funny, we very much equate it to this audacious pathway that we go on, right? And it's a journey that we go through, and there's going to have pitfalls and obstacles, but there's a level of dedication, determination, perseverance. I think these are all words that fit into that living that audacious pathway, and very much align with the work that you do in terms of helping individuals reach healthy goals. So it totally makes sense to have you here. It totally makes sense to be part of this conversation. So maybe as a starting point, I can get you to talk a little about yourself and the work that you've done that's brought you to the point that you're at now.
I'll try to sum this up. My name is Deshaun Jackson. I am currently a Psych RN. As a Psych RN, I'm using that to push my lifestyle coaching brand. And
Okay.
As a lifestyle coach, I want to teach people about mindset, macronutrition, and exercise, and teach them that their self-limiting beliefs and how they think about things ultimately shape their mental health and how their future, their drive. The example I try to give, just to start everybody off, we all go through things in life. I don't care whether it's relationships, divorce, breakups,
Sure.
death. These are all normal occurrences in life. It's not the event that we struggle with. It's how we view the event. It's how we take it, the emotional attachment to it, and then the reaction, the verb, what we do and how we handle it. And I believe that if we can learn to master these things along with exercise, mindset, macronutrition, it can ultimately benefit us, shift us into a new place in life where we want to go.
Got you. No, and so I very much agree with that. So just one thing. Is there a way to turn up your mic a little bit? Because you do sound a little low. I don't know. And I hate that we talk about mic again, but
Nope.
your voice is just a little low. You don't need to yell, but yeah.
Gotcha.
Maybe you're a soft-spoken guy like me.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. Here we go.
Or,
So yeah, and so I've used the history as my psych RN, working
Yep.
with mental health youth and adults to help push that knowledge into lifestyle coaching, and it's
Sure.
been amazing.
Sure. And just for those, what is a psych RN? What does a psych RN do and they specialize in? Just for those who aren't familiar with it.
So for me, working with mental health youth in between the ages of 13 or 12 to 17 and adults
Mhm.
anywhere from 18 to 70, I'm teaching mindset training. They come in with depression, anxiety, multiple diagnoses, past trauma, rape and abuse, going through current dynamics with family dynamics,
Yep.
stress with jobs. And so using those education classes to teach people how to work through their mental health diagnosis has ultimately transferred into working outside of the dynamic just with you, me, anybody, people listening. So I
Sure.
found that you don't have to have a diagnosis per se, but we're all dealing with struggling with life, self-limiting beliefs in some way,
Yep.
shape, or form, whether you've been diagnosed or not.
Right, right, and it's really interesting because and I do you highlight the point you made around our attitude or emotional feelings towards the life occurrences that take place, and we're certainly not all the same. I acknowledge that, and nor we're very different. I mean, again, off the top, I talk about our own audacious path, right? Well, we're
Mhm.
all living our own life, and how we respond to things and how they impact us. They're all going to be different. However, the steps that we take to address these issues are similar in the sense that you have to just start with your mindset, for example, right? And how you perceive them and the steps that you take are, we're going to take similar steps, but they're not going to look the exact same for each and every one of them. If that makes sense to you, if I'm not,
Absolutely makes sense. Absolutely.
right,
Me and you
right,
both can go through a circumstances in life and
mhm,
take different roads to how we find successes. But I
right,
do find that certain things are flow throughout how you view the situation. Your gut is your second brain. What you eat ultimately can fuel your mental health. And are you exercising? Are you putting physical stress on your body that ultimately helps you mentally, put you in a better aesthetic and how you feel about yourself?
right, right. So I got to ask this, Sean, what sort of got you on this path?
I always have had an internal drive that's motivated me, but I didn't know how to shift it to push it into an actual career. So it's taken time to develop that. I knew I wanted to help people. That's why I got into the medical field. So prior to being a nurse, I was a physical therapy assistant. So I've always worked out and had an area as being an athlete. Then I transferred that into mental health. And now that has then blossomed into the lifestyle coaching. So it's just been a progression of time after time of taking skills
Right.
and adapting and using them in real time.
I'm curious when you made that connection between the physical and the mental. Like, was there a trigger of some sort, or a eureka moment, or how did that come to be?
So that was born out of life circumstances. I have been
Okay.
through now 3 divorces, and I realize as a human, I love to love, but I also make mistakes at love also. So,
Mhm.
in using those life circumstances, I have found that each divorce ultimately happened at the same time. I was having some career and educational circumstances going on that were pushing me and motivating me. So at the
Mhm.
time when the divorce happened, I could have used that as a way to say, "Oh, woe is me. Life is so hard." Or
Right.
I found that I was actually shifting my perspective and finding a way to push myself career wise educationally.
Yeah. I mean, listen. Divorce is one of those things that can shift your whole life, right? And I mean, if it's the finality of obviously a relationship, but you think about, you started to go down a particular path, and all of a sudden, the kind of rug is pulled out of you, and you're going in a different path and reshifting your life and changing all that kind of stuff. And so that certainly can make it interesting. I mean, don't know if you have children involved, but that's another dynamic when you add that to the
Mhm.
mix. That also is another factor that can cause stress or trauma or whatever. So kudos to you for sort of getting to the sort of other side, and being able to look back. Okay, I've gone through this. This is experience. Here's what I can do. So what you did is sort of add you shift that to your career and took those lessons learned and those experiences and apply them in a different space to help other people, which I think is fantastic.
I have found that in the first two instances, whether with the physical therapy assistant and with the nursing, I was trying to apply, and it was of value, but You can take my nursing career away from me. You can take my physical therapy career. But now, as a lifestyle coach, I own that. This is mine. You can't take that away. So I found that when I was having the stress, I was shifting it into career and education. But with this last divorce, I said, now we're going to shift it into a business, a brand. We're actually going to morph this baby into something, grow it up.
Sure.
And mhm.
I would imagine that. I mean, and I don't think many would agree, but in terms of the from a disagree rather, but I don't think in terms of getting physically healthy, I'd say a key in that is sort of having these sort of daily sort of consistent goals or habits, if you will. I wonder if you sort of talk about how important they are to us.
I have found that it does not matter whether you are going through things are going well for you and you feel you're
Mhm.
on high, or you're dealing with adversity and you are struggling. The daily process is what gets you through. And what I've noticed is too many times when people feel low, they stop what's getting them through the good times. And when people are on high, they're rolling on autopilot, is what I call it. So they're not prepared for when life happens because they've stopped doing a daily process. And that is the solidifier in between. It's getting up, it's journaling, it's positive affirmations, it's
Mhm.
projecting yourself into the future and then getting up daily to take the steps to chase that person down. It's stepping outside of your current situation. Are you volunteering? Are you working? Are you doing something that takes you outside of you so you're not just dwelling on your situation?
Right.
Are you helping other people? So I've found when you combine these topics along with purpose and drive, it just puts you into a different space. And if you do these consistently day after day, these are what get you. So my coach told me, you'll always fall short of your goals, but you will never fall to the strength of your systems. Your systems are your daily process, and
Mm.
that's what gets you through. Doesn't matter whether you're on high or you're on low, keep the daily process.
Right. It sounds like you had an athletic background. Did you play sports? What was your thing?
So I played football in high school, but then
Okay.
afterwards, I always continued to work out. Now, later in life, I'm playing volleyball, and I've
Right.
still had that athletic mindset. And even through reading now, I found that people driven have usually tend to have some type of athletic background in their
Mhm.
bio that has always that mindset push them.
Yeah, 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 and that doesn't leave you right, like what, especially the mindset of side. You hear about the championship excellence or championship mindset, athletic wise. It never ever leaves you. And I very much appreciate your point around the systems. I oftentimes I use an analogy describing life being like a series of hills and valleys, right? So and
Yes.
so life, as you know, is on continuing, it moves along, but sometimes we're at the top of the hill where things are great, and you describe that, right? When people are on the highs, right? So things are great, you're happy, you're fulfilled, you're celebrating. It's just a great place to be. But as life goes, you come down that hill and you're in the valley, and the
Right.
valley isn't as pleasant.
Yep.
Sometimes it hurt. There could be some pain there. There could be some divorces in there. There could be all kinds of things in that valley. The key, though, is to recognize, that again, life is that continuum. So it's going to it's high now, it's low, but there is an opportunity to continue to get back to that high place. I think so the goal really needs to be, how quickly can I get out of that valley to get back on the top of the hill so I can celebrate again, right?
So, what I call that is what's your refractory period? What's your ability to go from the low to the high? But what I found, it takes action in between. You can't just sit and wait this process out. It doesn't just
Right.
magically happen. But yes, that refractory period, what's your ability to you hit bottom or what you perceive as, and then to take yourself back to your perception of I'm back on top. Absolutely.
Yep.
It's a skill.
Yep. And I think by sort of looking at that approach, what it also does, Deshaun, it allows you to recognize that this is a process of life. Like, things are going to stay high forever, but they're not going to stay low forever either. And so, as long as you continue to go, so if you got your system in place and you continue to move through it, like, the system's not going to protect you from bad stuff that's happening to you. What the
No,
system will do, what will empower you and fortify you, so when the bad stuff happens.
absolutely. It keeps your mental. So how I love the way you put that. The way I kind of look at life is it's a 24-hour whiteboard. People tend to either they want to carry their past with them or they're projecting so far forward into the future where they let anxiety get to them. Life is a 24-hour whiteboard. It's what you accomplish in that time. What are you doing to put yourself in a better position? I know
Yeah.
that I mean you don't have to tell me your goals. You if I see what you do in 24 hours, I can tell you what your goals are. I can tell you whether you're going to make them because I
Mhm.
know you're repeating this process over and over and over daily. Yes, love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. I heard an expression how the significance of kind of winning the day, right? So if you stop trying to getting consumed with as you rightfully point out, what's happening in the future, because then you're creating anxiety for yourself and leave the past where it is, so you're not going through this depression and stay present. It's like, okay, so what do I need to do to get a win today and win the entire day? Because the victory, right, the overall victory is made up of a collection of small wins.
Yes,
And so if you
absolutely.
if you bear in mind that, man, like I've myself personally, I've gone through different periods where I'm trying to lose weight, right? And I'm going, okay, so what I got to do today, right? And it's like today I had a great day. What can I do tomorrow? Tomorrow's a great day. All right, let me string a few, but now I've strung it together 7 days. That's fantastic. And so it's about keeping that momentum going, right?
Yes, absolutely. And too many times we don't give ourselves credit for what we're doing. We'll literally have a great
Mm,
day, and then the next day we'll feel like, well, you're right. You have to earn it every day. It is a process that you get back up and earn it. So you feel that emotion within yourself, and I can do this repeatedly over time. And like you said, I've done it for a week over and over.
yeah. And I'm glad you made reference to that celebration piece, because that's like the icing on the top of that cherry there, because you celebrate it, you feel good about it, you give yourself credit for what you've done,
Hmm.
right? Here's what I did. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Great. How do I continue this good feeling? What I need to do next? Just did yesterday, right? That's kind of and it's so funny. It's a really simple, small mental thing, but it can help in major, major, profound ways.
Absolutely. And I'd add another caveat. As you get good in the process, you add a little piece, throw in a little bit more. You've seen you can do this in a day. Now, can we throw in something else to bump my feeling of feeling better? Hey, Deshaun, I had a little opposition. You handled it. Nice job. Keep going. And you find that's how you build skill, resilience. You handle setbacks. Is I've done this. Success, I love, I've heard is reflective. You're able to see what you did, turn around and look back. And so that
Yeah.
worked for me, and I can repeat that process.
Yes, 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 yes. And I love to add that a little bit. I'm kind of like lifting weights, right? Just add a little bit more, right? Just
Yes.
add a little bit more and see how, and right, and kind of push yourself a little bit more. And I mean, add some more and see if this works, right? And so, and then when you, and what's even funny about that, because I've been in that situation where it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't lift this thing a month ago, and now I'm adding to it, right?
You-
So, but again, that's the, and I always say celebrate the wins. It's celebrate them, recognize them, acknowledge the steps, because that's what will give you that confidence to push forward and keep on going.
Mhm.
So
And half the
love it. I
time,
love it.
so go ahead, go ahead,
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
I was just
No,
going
I
to
was I
add
was
that.
just I was going to move on to another point there, but like I want to hear what you got to say on this.
I like to translate things into factual real life. So a lot of
Okay.
the times before we start something, our brain tells us for some reason we can't do it. When in all reality, you can. So I have a client that I work with. She's never been in the gym, never knew anything about macronutrition. When I first told her, listen, we're going to get to a point where you're going to do 100 burpees before you touch a weight and we do a workout. She told me I was crazy. No way, Deshaun, never going to happen. We've been working together almost 3 months now. She's gotten up to 70 burpees before she touches a weight and does a workout. And she says it now translate into my real life. She said, Deshaun, I've had things happen and be like, I can push through 70 burpees. You can't tell you. So yes, you have to push the self-limiting beliefs out, but you can do it if you don't let your brain tell you before you even start that you.
Right. And I think that's the big one, right? Like not discounting before you even tried, right?
Yes.
The journey looks insurmountable at the beginning, but at the end, it's like, wow, a piece of cake. Let's do it again, right? And so, I think there's much value in like continuing to try, and I think what that does, and it'll segue really into our ability to unlock our potential, right? Like it gives us
Mhm.
an opportunity to see what we're really capable of and how strong we really are, how fast we really are, or how much endurance we have. Um, I, I don't know if you were to sort of boil it down. Is there a process when it comes to sort of uncovering or unlocking our potential, what we can do?
So for me, yes, I do break it down. It is a process. You have to wake up earlier, at least an hour than earlier than your normal wake up time. So for me,
Okay.
I try to do it in between 4:30 a.m. I'm up every day, 5 to 6 days a week, and starting my morning process. Now, whether you decide to have coffee, tea, water, that's up to you, but you
Sure.
have to start the journaling. You have to start the writing. How do you want more for yourself, but you haven't wrote it out, journaled it out, found a coach, found a mentor, somebody who can help guide you, and then
Hmm.
started your day. And so, yes, I do with my clients and patients talk about what's your process. And I try to generalize. If I have a patient who or a client who lives a bohemian lifestyle, kind of just, living life by the fringe, versus I have one who has structure, detail. This is
Yeah.
how it makes adjustments on the fly. I can tell you the difference astoundingly between these two people and how their life is. So, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I like that. Um, something else I saw that you talk about is the power of incantation. I wonder if you can sort of describe that to our audience and what that is and what it does for us.
So, whether it's conscious autosuggestion, whether it's incantations, you are trying to physiologically rewire your brain and who you are and what you want to be. So, I try to
Mm,
give always examples. I remember when I started the nursing program during COVID, they would tell me, Deshaun, you have to think like a nurse. And I remember being like, what are you talking about? I'm just starting. How do you think like a nurse? Well, I had to find somebody who was doing what I was doing and learn, watch, repeat. So in that process, that's what I've learned is the incantations, the conscious autosuggestion. You were talking yourself into a better position of where you want to be. Again,
right.
factual. If you struggle with we all have problems. Let's say somebody struggles with watching porn, real life examples. Instead of watching porn the next time, you're going to go buy your girl some flowers. You're going to go get her a card. You're going to get her some candy. You're going to rewire your brain to do something the next time you have a urge to do something. So I use
Gotcha.
different words to describe the same thing, same process of where you want to be, how you want to go, and even the obstacles you think you might, and that how they're not going to hinder you when you get there.
Got you. So it's almost you're pointing your brain in a different direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You were, in fact, so when you get into the opposition, your brain doesn't default back to your old patterns. It
Mm,
knows in fact, your subconscious knows you. It knows that if you don't repeat a process over and over again, you're not going to stick to it. You're going to automatically default when stress happens to what you're comfortable with. So that's
right.
where the physiological rewire happens when you incantations, again, conscious autosuggestion, repeated through action over and over through time.
And is there something that, like, is something that you do every morning or every day? What does that look like? That process of actually, yeah,
So for me, it
incantations
is
of.
intentional in the morning because it helps set my day, but it is
Okay.
also used throughout the day because life keeps life. What I say is life is always lifing. It's a
Very
verb.
true.
You are always encountering some form of or will encounter opposition. So when that opposition happens, what are you saying to yourself?
Mm.
And then on top of what are you saying to yourself, what does your body and reaction do to solidify the process? It's a two-step process you always have to consciously be aware about.
I wonder if you just expand on that two-step process. That's an interesting point.
First, your thoughts. You're always going to start there. And then you're going to have an emotional reaction, and then you're going to solidify it with a physical action. So I
Mm.
noticed that if you don't check your thoughts, realize you're going to have an emotion to it, and then you're going to follow through with a physical action. Even if it's, especially if it's poor, it's not going to benefit you. It's going to feel great in the short term, but it's not going to have that long term gratification that you're truly searching for.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. And it's funny as you say it. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It's not something that would jump to me right away, but yeah, as you say, that does certainly make sense, and the two are connected absolutely. Um, is there a particular individual or type of individual you work with, like, that you specialize in as a lifestyle coach?
So I hear a lot, especially when I jumped into lifestyle coaching, about how certain people wanted certain or client profiles. I want a male 25 to 50 making such and such dollars. But I work in mental health. It's a come as you are profession. So that's how I reviewed this. As a lifestyle coach, come as you are. I want you to bring, if I have somebody who doesn't make $125,000 a year,
Hmm.
who's struggling with some type of maybe a death recently, relationship dynamic, dynamic. And that struggle that they go through is going to be way greater to watch that person climb their ascent. So I don't like to say I have a certain client profile I'm looking for. Come as you are. Let's
Right.
go. Bring it. Let's
Yeah.
bring the dynamic. We're going to make it happen.
Whoever's ready to work, let's do it. Right.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about at least raise the topic of nutrition. You talk about sort of macronutrition and how significant that is. Give us an idea because I'd like to think that it doesn't really matter, how much physical exercise or training that you do. If your nutrition is off, it's going to be very, very difficult to meet your goals.
Absolutely. Macronutrition, I think I opened up earlier and said your gut is your second brain. Macronutrition is absolutely essential. What I find is if you can't control what you put in your mouth, you ultimately have a control over a lot of other things in your life. So do you measure? Do you weigh? Do you know what your fats are? Do you know what your carbs are? Do you know what your proteins are and what ratios are working for you? If you're not measuring, tracking, you're guessing at best. And in this day and age and culture, unless you have some type of control over food, you've exercised this before, I tend to notice we overeat. It is the way our culture is endemic,
Mhm.
is the way society is endemic with just giving extra portions.
Well, we like
So
large portions, man. We like our large portions.
yeah, we have biggie size. You ever see an extra small size? No, no, that's not how we're wired. So it
Right.
is absolutely essential. And I found again, the person that can control what they put in their mouth ultimately has some control ultimately in the fact of their life. And are you tracking and weighing your food and in what dynamics? Is it benefiting you, helping you look aesthetically pleasing in the way that you want to? These dynamics are ultimately important.
Mm. And yeah, I get that. It's what you're doing. And so the key, what would you say? You talk about sort of weighing and measuring. Are those kind of the keys to building a successful nutrition program?
Absolutely. That's the physical requirement. Like those are the actions you're going to take. But
Okay.
ultimately, again, I got to go back. It's your mindset. If you don't view this as essential, it doesn't
Yes.
matter. Your mindset to it and how valuable it is to you. So some examples I've heard of multiple people within their diets, they stick to the same routine and how valuable that is. So I have found, again, I use myself as an example, almost identical Monday through Friday, breakfast through dinner. It is protein pancakes and turkey burgers or chicken. And because I see so many people, what do I want to eat today? What do I want to have? That's wasted energy. It's wasted thought process.
Right.
Find something you can like, measure it consistently over time and watch your dynamic change. Can you throw in variables? Absolutely. But to me, that's a process that you learn over time versus consistently changing up and not knowing what is, how it weighs, how it benefits you. You're telling me you have a plate of food in front of you and you don't know how that benefits you? That's a problem.
Being very cerebral about it and planning and when people do meal prep should be a big part of this. So when you're going through that meal prep process, you're being very cerebral as to what I need to have in front of me, what's on my plate, right, and
Absolutely.
how it's helping me.
hmm Again, I have found now through because I've repeatedly done the process that
Yeah,
I can go without a scale, but 90% of my diet stays consistent. If you see me at home in the morning, I got protein pancakes and turkey burgers. You see me at work for lunch, it's the same thing. When
yeah,
I come home for dinner, I go to the fridge, it's the same dynamic
yeah.
again. But if you look at me, there's a reason. I don't. If I want to eat for pleasure, I might go out to a restaurant and have some lasagna. But
Hmm.
for me, I eat for nutrition because it's a drive, it's a purpose, it focus, it's where my goals are
Yep,
aligned.
yep, yep. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Deshaun, I so respect the your approach and how you attack this thing. And then certainly how you want to use your experiences to support others. I think it's fantastic and applaud you for the work that you've done up to this point. For listeners who want to connect with you, learn more about your work, where can we send them?
Right now, I'm on Facebook under my name, Deshaun Jackson, Deshaun Jackson, or you can find me on Instagram under the Psych RN Fit, PsyChrNFit, and I'm currently pushing the lifestyle brand.
Awesome, awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate this. I saw the top. I appreciate it. We had this chat here, and I think I'm saying it again. This is fantastic. Keep up the great work, my friend. And all the best.
All right. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Deshaun for being here and sharing his insights. I really appreciate it, my friend. So thank you. As during our chat, we uncovered the transformative power of intentional actions and the importance of rewiring our brains for positive change. By implementing measurable habits and tracking progress, we pave the way for sustainable lifestyle enhancements. Now, if you're feeling inspired by Deshaun's insights and would like to connect with him directly, you can find his contacts details in the show notes below. You certainly don't want to miss the opportunity to learn more from this really exceptional lifestyle coach. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to follow, subscribe, or share the Audacious Living podcast with your family and friends if you haven't already done so. Your support helps us to continue to grow and inspire others to live their most audacious lives ever. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.